Thank you all for coming down tonight. We are live from Books and Books in Coral Gables, Florida, through the generous support of the Knight Foundation. So a note to you watching on the internet at home, if you're interested in tonight's book, we could ship it to wherever you are in the United States free of charge. Just call the number on your screen. Well, this evening, Books and Books is very happy to welcome back M Clark and her new book, Dragonfly. Professor Clark has a PhD in English from the University of Miami and is a professor of literature and writing at Miami-Dade College. Her poetry has appeared nationally in Painted Bride Quarterly and Gulfstream Magazine, as well as Tiger Tail, South Florida Poetry Annual, and other venues. She also served as the inaugural poet-in-residence at the Deering Estates Artists' Village, resulting in the collection Charles Deering Forecasts the Weather and Other Poems, which we also have available at the counter. Dragonfly is her third book of poetry. In it, she continues her poetic explorations with vigor and with courage. Please give a very warm welcome to M Clark.
Great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you all very much for coming out tonight. I know I had a lot of competition. This is a big night. We have Tom Brady return to the football arena, so everybody might have been home watching that instead. Of course, we have Project Runway. There's a lot of other things that I'm in competition with, so I do appreciate all of you for coming down. And I hope that I can share some things with you about this new collection that are pretty interesting, because I took some chances, and I hope that you will enjoy it. I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine a few weeks ago. Now, this, I have to tell you, was a very literate and very smart friend. But he was whining and moaning about his continuing frustration with poetry. That is what he imagined poetry to be. This is what he said. It's always about that so-called inner life, that moment of realization, whatever, that the writer experiences. Honestly, who cares? Right, I said, who cares? Okay. Does poetry matter at all? Well, you know, the New York Times Book Review doesn't really think so. I mean, we got a bestseller list for fiction, we got one for nonfiction, we got one for paperback, hardback, ebooks, download. What about poetry? Well, too flowery. I love that one. Too personal. Well, usually, I know that's true. Too obscure, too difficult. Reading poetry makes me feel dumb. Yeah, you know, I've heard a lot of these things. And frankly, honestly, I thought that I would always write novels. Invent lives, create characters, thrilling situations for make-believe people, the virtual lives of people who never existed but could have. Until one day I heard that all allegedly fictional characters are really a collage of the real people that the writer knows and the real person that the writer is. So I guess novels and poetry are not that different after all. Now, in this new collection, Dragonfly, the women who are the main characters crept in very slowly. A certain color of hair, a detail based on what someone thought was an unobserved moment. They crept in, and then they moved in. Dead Helen, someone who's been around the block a few times. We have Jane, the pretty one. There's always one like her in every family, in every group. And then there's Lisette, the oracle, the survivor, always looking over her shoulder to stay safe. Through the pages of Dragonfly, all three of these characters, they're just like the characters in the novels you read. They're hiding, but they're in plain view, smack dab in the middle of their lives. Well, you know what? I like hiding too. I think we all like to hide sometimes. And I really hope that T.S. Eliot was right when he claimed that poetry is not really an expression of emotion, but an escape from it. And like all good fiction, maybe poetry can really be just the escape in our time that we really need and we really love. The first piece I'd like to read is one that actually got this collection going and got the characters assembled for me at the beginning. And this one is called In Search of Serotonin. And as all of you, medicated people know, serotonin, of course, is that magical, feel-good neurotransmitter that makes everything in life all right, sometimes. And these characters all go looking for it, just like we do. So this is In Search of Serotonin. Number 1, God's beer. How did Jane fail to feel the dragonfly's launch and cleave the air, the stun that prized the drone? There will be no soft-pedaled landing, no honey tip to siphon-suck the tawny nectars, bed sores, sore need, needles aside. She wonders, what can the rainforest eat? What color the eyes that scan humming wings blink into being, the mammalian letting down her singular sour flavoring of tardy summer? Blink the dour sweat's residue sets the heartbeat to uneasy diastole. We once called them darning needles, so sharp and hook-pointed as to mend a frayed man's sock, so thumb-rubbed the threadbare heel. Somewhere, a quiver of larva kickstarts the fuselage, guns the 10,000 silicon wings. They sip silently, fly blind. You better keep your fever-burned lips to yourself, sealed and shut. Number 2, vanilla. Like a queen, dead Helen brings her creamy breasts and a willingness to abdicate. How could they know? They knew to call it la petite morte. Something so visceral hangs left over in the sky as all exterior pulls away. Her focus pristine, one rogue leg hair itinerant to a fault, she wades thigh deep, herself a half-tone on a gray scale. Big death, little death, what begins with death, deep brain, shallow breath repurposed. Number 3, soil of Eden. No surprise, the eye wall is in your eyes, where the barrel drains, scoring one perfect circumference of there and not there. There, in the absence of iris, twin dark suns dilate and contract, bottomless vestibules of rod and cone circumnavigate palettes of human color, Lisette's common brown, Lisette's non-space of barely at bay jackals. It's no surprise. The eye wall is in your eyes. Okay. All right. The next one that I'd like to share with you is called Light Diary. Now, this continues with the characters that you've met already, and specifically with their experiences with change, how desperately we fear it, how much we need it. No matter how awful every moment might be, or any moment, there's always one thing we can be assured of, and that is it won't last. Nothing ever will. So this is Light Diary. It was the first day dead Helen saw that light. The south sill repaired, faced with granite, then veined with lead pencil erasure. Not to mind the small gap a putty knife missed. She heard the grind of gears, a revving engine. Someone was off, going off. Someone else wore the pretense of a fat afternoon, juicy with sun motes, random dust. Yet the light triangle isosceles promised nothing. When you ante up and plateau that one age, fall feels right. Just fall, just right. Helen took time being dead. Now here she is. Sigh off the weight of bird eyes, cat stares, just late summer. No need to excuse the lying down. See what comes with the seed of old parents, some fluke of kinked hardware, software corrupted. Not the clear, cold, bright eyes of newborns with driving neck muscles, looking up, looking around for the young arms fuller, breast milk full of what fills the void. The seed of old parents scrambles the code. Eggs with shells cracked, fragments of tired albumin tainting the yolk. No more honey light, sap from the honey tree. No more winter carnivals up in years, up in the Ferris wheel, before your light hair swallowed smoke and carbon ash, unaware. The short shift before dark, apple candles and gale's pause, dark waits its turn. Fall flattens, light insinuates, how the ley line sours, abbreviates the sternum rupture. Light touch, fingertips smoothed over creped eyelid. This is the time Jane won't stomach an intermission. Play muse, play music, relish the eulogies, measuring breakfast's renewable feast. Lost love, stay gone. Now's not the season to reflame cold-begotten Jane. To add shine, Lisette mused, that was the algorithm behind the screen. The shattered honey beer, the jazz, the gin and fizz of soft pop. Silicon Sand City, city rippling beyond abrupt brick, it's the shine that sears the dead end. The vacant lot, vacant eyes of the vacant surfer boys, their light blonde consorts, rehearsing misogynies of a burned sun. That's my diary. The next one continues, carrying the characters through their lives, the drama that is in all of our lives. So these women, these three characters are us. And in this next piece called Meteorology, we see the characters dealing with young children, making peace with their situations, trying to provide one last bit of magic for their elderly dying parents. So this is called Meteorology. 1. There was a dream behind the market, behind the back alley of strewed deliveries and leavings, the produce smell consigned and discarded, greengrocers, grocery greens, sharp string celery and the silk of corn, tomatoes wounded, outer leaves of cabbage and lettuce, the cat's roughage, local and past prime. Poor corn, poor undone hairdo betraying brute summer, Rift Valley gone rotten, pygmy corn, poor corn, stunted torsos and game legs, polio ears, sloughed skin, such fair, sad silk. Everything you learned from the corn. And the dust and the saffron, August, your school and your time of journeyman. In the country of August, silk fingers read breezes for signs of one leaf's beheading. Surprise when shy yellow, brighter than blonde, peels back and husks naked and sweet show. Dry husks hang till stalks fall once, taller than the girl's, the boy's eyewitness. It would be wrong to bring your heavy heart to the sweet corn, protocols of cold beer and sweet food and hot sun's savory air. But you know already. You already know. 2. Fall line and the push somewhere in Osceola County. The land flow fuses. It's hard to separate tall tales from thick brush. Somewhere the line hides. What is deciduous chained to season's law, and everything south gears evergreen and flimsy, bent to winds prevailing. Lisette's view faces southwest. Where? Where is the line angling compass rose? Where the line between simulated fall and fallen clouds? Spent fronds. 3. In the winter, Jane is invincible. The evening sky, so serious, so indigo, so how can anyone entertain frail death or the cells that mulch pandemic or a moment's indiscretion? Winter's spine, so stern and fierce, so oblivious to skin rashes and limp lost hair, lips dry and sunk to gumline, so where can she find the fading evening when night comes upon us, the knife blade stab never missing its mark, unquenchable enthusiasm for birth and withering. 4. Dead Helen hates spring, especially spring that comes too early, with muscle torque and brash buds in colors loved by the living. For a girl with glasses, she had a surprising talent, putting pets down. 5. Always of surprise, and its own share of thanksgiving, the last cold spells where invalids like to sleep beneath the sun. Have no need of nurses or home-caring women in white with clean nails and island accents, or aging parents who've lost their sense of smell. Just smells of pickling fish and wedding photos mounted in clouded plastic. The cold comes of its own will. A last dark evening, canal water without ripples, and roosting waterfowl puffed along the shore, but higher than the brackish black, higher than the brooding banks. 6. Who was she then? Who learned she could not sleep in through the light, the swelling warm swaths on the parquet, but she could gift wasteful and thick inside the folding muscles, watch him take on demobilizing, witness teeth skewed and gleam, greeting a vague acquaintance. In the marketplace, they liked the bow-bent man, heels sliding, the breaking, the creased sides of bent shoes. Let him drive with windows down through the premature morning. Nothing lost on the breath, a silent ah as the streets slide horizontally along the driver's acute left elbow, bone pointing and naming the familiar. So much faster than the impossible shuffle, the only permission given for those still upright and vertical, screaming toward 90. The second time erupted as if flesh spoke, flesh given lips and tongue as words sluiced through a pastry cone, so sweet, so sticky sweet. That's meteorology. This next one is also a long one. I like these long ones because in a way, I hope you do, because these tell the story. They really are able to give you a real sense of the characters' lives. So it's a novel, but it's in a new way. This one next that I'd like to share with you is called World's End. And this is another one, not only for the three characters that we've already met, but also for us. What is that driving motor that carries us? How does our family history in some way create us, make us who we are? How do our memories betray us? So this one is called World's End. 1. There is pollen stenciling the air. Pollen, or the smallest insect rioting, dying in the long sun. Midsummer is still weeks off. Yet the heat of radiated leaves, spent spears of lawn, still dot a cloistered scene. Outside, fringes of roadside spearmint, a munnioned window, tired and west-facing, animal, vegetable, mineral, all seem the same. How tired the sun must be. 2. It must be Jane's longest year. We measure pulchritude in inches in degrees north latitude. How many squinted sidewalk stones does it take? The 2 wasps' nests, done in with quiet poison, tucked under the eaves. Corpses black hole, and opalescent as the sun passes. These are the unremarkable totems that gauge limits. I will wander back to the front lawn on the return. The well. Wait with bucket empty. Wait. Invisible fire grazing wires skinned of penny insulation and hiding behind fleshy plaster, soft and hard and lacking clear level. Jane looked for flames, smelled heat, and the man shouts, the horse alarms, rubber men relaying rubber hose into the darkened hallways. We lived next door. The grandmother kneaded bread unperturbed. Could she see through? The hands move. The oft-handedness, asking for the jelly jar glass of water to quench a fictional thirst. Ran once out of eye-shot, ear-shot. Who would notice a small, dirty blonde throw water in the direction of all those hot bricks? 3. Lisette is Sacagawea's daughter of that coy French furrier who skinned out pelt and soft red skin. We who are not one are all someone's daughter, riding the heaves of rain, to reclaim a marshland, a glacier's incipience, brackish and stiff, refusing to let land win, if only for a time. Lisette gives birth and hauls that bundle of cells and propensities out to the headwaters of Missouri country, of waterfowl and great mammals, out into the brooding acres, seeing if land will cede to Channel Islands and passages of spice and silk. But land, but flesh, must always capitulate. What was Lisette thinking? 4. In the beginning, dead Helen drives to her mother's funeral, to her son, when she wore her graying hair Kentucky long, to run from the illness feasting on her bones, every mile a torrid wrench, liminal victory from its grip. What was that trip like? Cold portions, canned drinks. Feed the corpus human. And that's World's End. And of course, World's End is also the beginning, and you keep going. So this gives you a sense of these characters, and I'd like to, bring in now a couple of shorter pieces that give you, in some ways, not what happens in their lives and the drama of their life unfolding, but some of the secret moments that we all have, the times that shame us, that make us feel heavy with grief, heavy with guilt. Can we ever really escape our choices? So here's one that I think is, it's not really funny, haha, but it's something that I think perhaps the ladies can relate to. This is called The Cat's Meow. Jane cuts her doll's hair. It doesn't grow back. Moves on to the long fake fur eyelashes, but horrified stops after only one is done. Poor doll. An open and shut case, in one eye only. The cat's long-pulled indoor whiskers could not be far behind. Only they don't grow back either, or so slowly. Only the one-eyed, bug-eyed doll notices. So I think if you're a girl, you had cats and dolls, I think you could rate it. I'm going to cut the doll's hair, cut Barbie's hair. See what happens. It doesn't grow back, ever. So an experience that we have. Another experience, and this one, I think in a way, I don't know, it's certainly something we know about. It's some of those secret memories that kind of scar us in ways that sometimes are visible and sometimes invisible. This one is called The Cutters. Dead Helen learned to cut in college. Learned from Kathy from Buffalo that cigarette burns on her freckled flesh made everything bitter better. The boys who made her knees weak never gave Kathy the time of day, but would light her cigarettes. She never told me she never smoked. So these are, adolescence, what happens to us as we grow, and the secrets we carry with us. The last one I'd like to share with you is one that in a way brings two of the characters together. At different occasions, people have asked me, how are these three related? Are they sisters? Are they all the same person? Are they triplets? Who are these three people? And I don't know. I don't have a specific, genealogical chart of who's who and who's related to who. But at one point in time, I had the idea that maybe a couple of them might be related, might be in fact siblings. So this is called A Tale of Two Siblings. In the creases of spring, the big bellies bloom. So she sinks beneath the wheat, her chin softened with chaff and flyaway dust. She eyed the tired fields, the waiting, the wasting begins. Jane dreams of Nebraska, or maybe it was Iowa, or maybe some other state with parallel parking and forgettable area codes, football teams jinxed with some animal name. Jane was no cheerleader, but she could thrash and flail with the best of them, kick her pleats as high as the next girl. She was the pretty one in high school. She listens to hear the seductive snare of the timpani, the big bellies bloom. In Colorado, they build them blue-eyed and blonde and blind. The glaze of endless eastern ridge snows icing the fields, the wildflowers, cornflowers cool, calm. Comes glaucoma, comes spring, and she remembered the pond's crack and hue of hyacinth bulbs brisk on the breeze. In the creases of spring, the big bellies bloomed, but dead Helen decides to relocate. Abandon her date with death and date a realtor in Park City. Mix with the powdered slope crowd, ski sweaters without bodies, and those pricey shops on Main Street, luring like spicy Asian takeouts on the outskirts. So complete the whiteout, so only the shadows shine. Only spring will put a stop to all that. In the creases of spring. Why do married women dream of hotel rooms freshly made up? Cold sheets, towels folded like bleached animals, or degenerate origami. They trust the curtain light. They trust the hands folded like flowers, clean of color, anointing the migraine brow. The fire that warms the corners, the fire that refracts the crystal, the same fire that soothed the cave terror, fire chasing ravenous peccary, cooked and smoked, felled mammoth, tender and rare. Simply well done. In the creases of spring, the big bellies bloom. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I hope you enjoyed this. Does anyone have any questions or anything, anything about the characters of the book or anything that I can, share with you, or anything you'd like to know about it? Everybody's silent. Did I leave you stunned? Sue?
How long have you been working on this last time?
Well, I think it's probably about 2 years, give and take. The serotonin was first, but then the characters started kind of invading my life. And it was kind of, I never really saw myself as a novelist. I always thought of doing that. But this kind of appeared to me in the same way, but much more fragmented, almost cinematic. In other words, sort of like a movie that doesn't have necessarily a linear plot, but had these kind of flashes of scenes with these characters, and they overlap and they merge. And so, life's occasions kind of got blended in, got folded into the stories that, are contained in the collection. So about 2 years or so. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, well, there's wine outside. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, George?
It seems to me that each character is a specific part of the psyche of the whole person.
Right,
Can you
right.
speak to that?
Sure. There's certainly that part. I kind of think that, each one of them is sort of a little part of me, Jane, the pretty one, the vain one, like, I gotta look in, every girl, okay, this is a girl's book. Sorry, guys. It's not a girl's book, but it really has that, female experience, especially growing up in America. And so, the idea of the pretty one. Who's the pretty one in the family? Dead Helen is the one that carries the weight of the world on her shoulders. Dead Helen, And then Lisette, well, Lisette's the survivor. So I like to think that they are all one person. They represent, perhaps, if you want to see it that way, aspects of all of us. And it is the experiences are female and feminine, but I think it's human. I think it's human, except for the big bellies, of course. But other than that, I think some of these experiences hopefully will touch the men as well. Yeah, one person, not me. Remember, I'm distanced from it. I'm just the designer. Anybody else? Yeah.
Do you ever visualize your characters? Do you ever see them in in fully formed?
Isn't that funny? Well, in a way, they all, to be honest, every one of them really came from a real life person. Not me, but people I know. It's strange. The Dead Helen character was actually a kind of a distant acquaintance, somebody that I knew professionally from my job. And I heard, at one point in time that another acquaintance said, "Did you hear that this person passed away?" It's like, I can't believe she, this is one of these tragic things, somebody prime of her life and she's dead. Sadly, these things do happen. So it became the Dead Helen. So I really always see this woman that was, not really, her name wasn't Helen, but her. Jane, there was a person in our life that, actually had the name Jane, and she always sort of reminded me of this sort of fragile person that, put so much emphasis on her appearance that it was that frailty that, so I always see her. And Lisette, I do have a friend Lisette, and so in a way she's a model for the Lisette character. But they're these specific people, but not, But I do see them somehow. Lisette is always Lisette. I don't know if Lisette knows that she's Lisette, if you know what I mean. But she was the inspiration, so I do kind of see them. But then there's that merging thing we talked about as well. So I'm just not sure where the character begins or ends. They become their boundaries become very free floating. But I think that's a good thing. I think that might be a good thing. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you all very much again. Thank you so much for coming. If anybody has a book that they'd like signed, I'm happy to do it. If you'd like to just adjourn into the humidity and grab some wine, go home and watch the football game, it's all good.
Thank you. All right, folks. So if there are no more questions, then a reminder for our internet audience watching at home, still plenty of time for you to pick up a copy of Dragonfly, and we'll ship it to wherever you are in the U.S. free of charge. Just call the number on your screen. For those of you here in the house, we have Dragonfly for sale at the counter in the front room over there, as well as Professor Clark's previous book, Charles Deering Forecasts the Weather and Other Poems. She's going to be signing here at the table to the left of the podium. And that was one of the best readings we've had here in a while, so please give another hand to CM Clark.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. And I'd like